Hello, friends. Imagine this. It's Christmas Eve, 1971. Lansa Airlines Flight 508 is soaring over the vast Amazon rainforest in Peru. Inside, 86 passengers are filled with holiday cheer, heading home to their loved ones. The first half hour is perfect. Breakfast is served, pilots chat about their families, and everyone is excited for Christmas Day. But as the plane begins its descent towards the city of Pucallpa, the sky darkens. A violent storm erupts out of nowhere. Instead of avoiding it, the pilots fly straight into the heart of the tempest. Suddenly, the cabin is plunged into darkness. A bolt of lightning strikes, and the plane starts shaking violently. Luggage flies from the overhead compartments, hitting passengers. Panic spreads like wildfire. For 20 agonizing minutes, the plane is tossed around like a toy. Then, at an altitude of 21,000 feet, another lightning bolt hits the plane's right wing, and it catches fire. Seconds later, the wing rips off, followed by a part of the left wing. Just 15 minutes before its scheduled landing, at an altitude of 10,000 feet, the aircraft begins to disintegrate. On the ground, air traffic controllers watch in horror as the dot representing Flight 508 vanishes from their radar screens. Hopes for an emergency landing quickly fade. The plane had completely crashed. Peru launched the largest search operation in its history. Days later, rescue teams finally reached the crash site deep within the Amazon jungle. The scene was devastating. Wreckage was scattered for miles. Passengers' belongings, suitcases burst open, and Christmas gifts dangled from the trees like eerie holiday ornaments. The search continued for days, but with no survivors found, the operation was called off. It was assumed all 86 people on board had died. After all, who could survive a fall from 10,000 feet? But they were wrong. One passenger had survived. Alone, in the middle of the dense, unforgiving Amazon, miles from any human settlement, a 17-year-old girl named Julianne Kopke was alive. It was nothing short of a miracle. But she was injured, lying on the jungle floor, and no one was coming for her. Her family, the world, had already presumed her dead along with everyone else. Julianne had been flying with her mother, Maria. They were on their way to the Panguana Biological Research Station, a remote outpost in the Amazon founded by Julianne's zoologist parents. The plan was for the whole family to spend Christmas together. Julianne was supposed to travel a few days earlier, but her school prom and graduation party delayed her. With the holiday rush, every flight was booked. Lansa Airlines was their only option. Julianne's father had repeatedly warned her against flying with this airline, calling it unsafe. But they had no other choice. Lansa Airlines had a terrible reputation. There was a grim joke in Spanish. Lansa se lanza de panza, which means Lansa falls flat on its belly. The airline had a history of crashes. The plane they were on, a Lockheed L-188 Electra, was Lansa's last. It was designed for flying in deserts, not over mountains. Its wings were too rigid to handle severe turbulence, making a flight over the Andes Mountains incredibly risky, but no one on that flight knew. When the lightning struck, Julianne was in seat 19F, a window seat in the second-to-last row. The entire row of 3 seats she was strapped into ripped away from the rest of the plane. Her seatbelt held her tight as she began her 10,000-foot freefall. What happened next is almost beyond belief. As she plummeted towards the earth, the deafening roar of the engines and the screams of passengers were replaced by the sound of rushing wind. The seatbelt dug into her stomach, making it hard to breathe. Below her was a sea of green, the Amazon jungle, so dense that the ground was completely hidden. At some point during the fall, she lost consciousness. She woke up on the forest floor. It was Christmas morning. Rain had soaked her clothes, and she realized she'd been unconscious for most of the night. She tried to stand but kept collapsing. Finally, after several attempts, she managed to stay on her feet. Her collarbone was broken, her knee was severely sprained, and she had deep cuts on her shoulder and calf. One eye was swollen shut, and she could barely see out of the other. Her glasses were gone, one of her sandals was missing, and she had a concussion. How did she possibly survive a fall that no one else did? It was a combination of 3 miraculous factors. First, powerful updrafts from the storm slowed her descent. Second, the row of seats she was attached to began to spin like helicopter blades, creating drag and further reducing her falling speed. And third, she landed in the incredibly dense canopy of the jungle. The thick layers of trees and vines acted like a massive life-saving cushion, breaking her fall and preventing a direct impact with the ground. But surviving the fall was just the beginning. Her real test had just begun. Alone and injured in the Amazon, she called out for her mother and other passengers, but only silence answered. This is where her unique upbringing kicked in. Having spent 3 years at the Panguana research station with her parents, she wasn't a stranger to the jungle. She knew which animals and plants were dangerous, and most importantly, she knew how to stay calm and think clearly under pressure. After resting for a few hours, she found she could walk. She first searched for other survivors but found no one. She desperately needed food and water. Using her wits, she licked water droplets off leaves. She found a small bag of candy from the wreckage and decided to ration it, eating only a few pieces a day. Julianne knew her only hope was to find people. She remembered a crucial piece of advice from her father. If you're lost in the jungle, follow water. A small stream will lead to a bigger one, and a bigger one will eventually lead to a river, where you're likely to find a settlement. She found a small stream and began to follow it. The journey was a living nightmare. The jungle was teeming with danger: 8-foot-long alligators, venomous snakes, and giant spiders. She had to navigate around fallen trees, wade through streams, and even swim in the river to avoid threats. All the while, she battled hunger, exhaustion, and the immense pain from her injuries. At one point, she noticed insects had laid eggs in one of her open wounds. Using a silver ring, she painstakingly removed them and, remembering her father's advice, used a bit of gasoline she later found to disinfect the wound. For 10 long days, she pushed onward. On the 11th day, she saw it. A small boat tied up near a tiny hut. She had been found. Local lumberjacks discovered her, cleaned her wounds, gave her food, and the next day, took her to a nearby village. From there, she was airlifted to a hospital. She had survived 11 days alone in the Amazon after falling from the sky. Her story of survival stunned the world. Julianne went on to study biology and became a renowned zoologist, just like her parents. She dedicated her life to preserving the Amazon jungle she had once battled. In the year 2000, after her father passed away, she took over as the director of the Panguana research station he had founded. As of today, Julianne Kopke is 71 years old and still advocating for the rainforest. For years, she said, she was haunted by nightmares, replaying the faces of the other passengers. She often asked herself, why was I the only one to survive? Later investigations revealed a chilling fact: at least 14 other passengers had also survived the initial crash. But injured and lost, they succumbed to the jungle before help could arrive. Julianne survived because she combined her will to live with the knowledge her parents had given her. She didn't wait to be rescued. She rescued herself. Her incredible story teaches us that with courage, knowledge, and sheer determination, it's possible to overcome even the most impossible challenges. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more amazing stories. See you next time.